Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with.
Nerdarchy's Ted.
And today we're going to talk about why dungeon masters should railroad their players in their Dungeons and Dragons game.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
There's something in tabletop role-playing games called railroading. But railroading doesn't always have to be bad. It's usually given negative connotations, though.
So typically, your storyteller, DM, GM, call it whatever you will in RPGs, provides you with a story, and there's times the players are just expected to just go along with whatever it is. It could be fantastic and ties in every single little nuance of why the players would do it. Other times, it's just you have to shoehorn in a reason of why you would go do that. Or maybe you don't even have a reason. You do it just because that's where the adventure is and you're going to go do it. This is referred to as railroading. You get on and you are taken to wherever the thing is without any actual choice in the matter.
Now, that being said, I've heard a GM that I greatly respect say, all games are railroads, it's just a matter of how wide are the tracks. There's also good reasons to kind of railroad as well. And first off, like, there's a subsection of railroading, right? And that is kind of the linear adventure. Or you can replace railroading with the linear adventure. Because once an adventure becomes linear, at that point, it is pretty much always a railroad. The question is whether or not you're giving your players choices or not. If they have choices, it's okay. But sometimes they want to be on the railroad. You know, like they want to take this train to the end because they've bought into the campaign. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You know, for instance, in your game, we have an overarching plot. That technically is a linear adventure and could be construed as a railroad. Like, what if we don't want to fight the blood demon? Well, that's fine. In our games, you don't fight the blood demon and he might open gates and start conquering the world and you might have to deal with the consequences.
And that has been from the get-go. That's been an option. If you guys decide, all right, well, we've dealt with the problem in this area. Can we, call it good? No one wanted to go down that road. When I put forth the cult as an idea, okay, this is something to fight. You guys latched onto it. You solved the case. It got bigger. You solved the case. It got bigger. The second that, people or players stop showing an interest in the plot lines you put out there, you need to put out different plot lines. My players have continued to see, over the course of, 10 levels, well, this is where I want to go. It was probably a year ago that the idea was discussed. Oh, well, we're probably going to have to go to the hells and go kill this, fiend.
And there's nothing wrong with that because the players are enjoying the story, they're having fun with it. Now, a railroad would be us like, we're not going to worry about this. We're just going to move to another city. This Griffin Gaff just needs to deal with their own problems and we can find greener pastures elsewhere. And then maybe other consequences would happen. Now, making it a railroad would then like the DM being like, oh, well, I'm going to geese your characters from a powerful NPC that you have to deal with this problem. Like that would turn it into a full-blown railroad. And we've seen that in games before.
Or, you go to the new city and it's like, well, I planned that you guys were going to go fight these cults. So the cult's going to rear its ugly head there too.
Yeah, which could happen anyway, depending on how things are going in the campaign and how well the cultists are doing. It's like maybe they fled that city as well. But, another time when railroading is perfectly acceptable is, well, what if that's the kind of adventures your players want? Maybe they're not good at picking their own paths and figuring things out. They want you to give them the plots to go to.
There are sometimes players enjoy the game and they're really there to be entertained and to be challenged. They don't care about choice. They want you to say, go here. I know that there are groups out there that they still play the old dungeon crawl system where you show up, okay, tonight's session is you have uncovered the map to the ancient, blah, 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 and you are at the entrance to the dungeon. You've bypassed all of the role-playing, all of the exploration to go find the treasure map. You've got the map. You found where you need to go, and you're just going to go crawl in this dungeon and fight monsters. If that's your cup of tea, great. Have fun. Go do it. It's a railroad. But if everybody at the table love it, there's no problem.
Most pre-written adventures are railroads. Like, at the end of the day, if you're doing Tome of Annihilation, you're trying to break the death curse. If you're playing Curse of Strahd, you're trying to take out Strahd. Like, there's very specific objectives that these pre-written adventures have, and they may be written in a sandboxy way where you can go places, do other things, but at the end of the day, there's only really one objective, and you have to overcome that problem to kind of like solve the adventure.
If you're going to enjoy that game, then there's absolutely no problem with it. If you want that more open world sandbox style and you can literally do whatever you want, well, there's times that it's going to fall outside of that railroad, and there's sometimes it's going to fall into it. As Dave said, my game, I've presented problems and the players keep rolling along, and I change where those railroad tracks go based on players' wishes, but in the end, they're still, for the past year, planning to go into the Hells, and that's where I know the campaign's going until they tell me it's not.
Yeah, so at a certain point with like pre-written adventures, at a certain point, depending on how sandboxy you get and how far off your players veer, you're not doing the adventure anymore, right? So it has to be a railroad, and you got to get your players to buy in. Like, you got to be like, all right, I'm GMing and I'm running this. You guys have to all come and want to play this, because that creates a problem in your campaign, and that kind of like goes back to different things we've talked about with session 0. Like, that would be a discussion if you had this thick adventure book that you're planning on running through. Like, your players all have to have buy-in on doing that, and ultimately they should probably want to solve the big problem that this adventure path is going to create for you, whether it's taking out Strahd or breaking the death curse.
It's like, okay, I spent $30 to $50 on Horde of the Dragon Queen. I'm going to run this over the course of, the next X number of sessions. Are you honestly interested in me doing this, or have I just wasted money?
Yeah, it's like, do you want to defeat the Cult of Tiamat? No. Then Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of the Dragon Queen, or Rise of Tiamat, aren't really good adventures for you to be playing in, right? So you should find, your DM should find new players, or you guys should play a different game. But that goes back to player buy-in. So when is a railroad okay? Basically, when you got player buy-in.
What do you guys think? How do you deal with the railroads, good, bad, indifferent, what have you? It's a great place to continue that conversation. It's down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can always tweet at us over on Twitter at Nerdarchy.
So until next time, stay nerdy.